I'm glad that they start releasing unit in pair together instead of one by one per week. Getting the trio of Yuxarisa and Edoga last week, and then this week it was Primrose and Tressa. At this way we can catch up to JP at the 1 year mark at least. Tressa EX is Tressa, who has a little bit of talk with Scarecrow, and now she become a hunter. If you only give her one skill slot, I feel like her performance wouldn't affect that much comparing if she do have 3 skill slots, because her skill is a bit gimmick and kind of hard and situational to use. So how she works is that she has this gimmick of her called arrows. Every time you use a move when Tressa is in camouflage, she gains an arrow, and that arrow, whenever you use one of her special skill or her ultimate, will consume all the arrow you have and increase the number of hits based on the number of arrows that you have. Though there are a few problems with this though, is that for Tressa EX to gain arrow, it takes a very long time for her to gain enough arrow to deal a lot of damage. Is that her power, her potency for the arrow ultimate or her skill thing is too low. And her 3-hit skill can already deal more damage than the arrow most of the time. So in order for the arrow move of Tressa to deal more damage than her 3-hit bow, she needs to have at least 5 arrows in order to do more damage than her 3-hit bow. And getting 5 arrows on her is kind of take a while. There is a buff on her that gives her 3 to 6 arrows based on boost level, but that buff is taking up a turn where she's doing nothing, and it also consumes BP to gain more arrows. And even if you do get 5 arrows, you can only use it once and then all the arrows are gone and then you have to do it again. So why use the arrow at all when you can just use the 3-hit bow instead? Hence why I say if Tressa only has 1 skill slot, her performance would not be that much difference from her 3 skill slot, because why spend your turns building up a gimmick attack when you can just spend a 3-hit arrow instead? Her first passive is camouflage, which is whenever she uses a skill, when she doesn't have this, she put on camouflage, which is can dodge up to 2 physical attack. And because of this passive, there is another problem with Tressa EX, is that if the enemy hit you, then you can kind of like just forget about building up arrow, because most of her skill require you to be in camouflage to be able to gain arrow. I don't know why they need camouflage in the first place, because she's already so kind of weak on her gimmick already, but she do need camouflage, hence why it's not good. Although this passive is quite good if you do not care about the arrows mechanic at all, since against physical attack enemy, she will always have at least 2 dodge on her. So if your enemy is doing a lot of physical attack, then Tressa will have a higher chance of surviving compared to a normal unit. The second passive just makes her 3-hit bow easier to spam. And her ultimate is nice because if the fight somehow lasts long enough for you to build 9 arrows, then you can use your ultimate and do a lot of damage to them, well 10 hit, and then that's it. Sometimes I get to the slide and I forgot that I should probably have discussed everything I discussed a while ago on this slide instead and not on the previous slide. So when I get to this slide, I realize that I've already put everything I want to discuss on the other slide. So I don't really have anything else to say about Tressa EX on the slide anymore. Currently in EN, Tressa EX isn't as good as other hunter. You have other hunter like Chumela, Herminia, or Xanta. There would be a better option to run than Tressa EX. Of course, if you miss you're lacking hunter, then Tressa with her 3-hit bow is always useful. In JP, Tressa EX got the 6-star treatment and also torch point. The problem is her torch point passive isn't her torch point skill and passive isn't really good at all. And a 6-star buff is decent, but it doesn't make her stand out enough. So here is a comparison between Tressa EX and Jumela. Both Jumela and Tressa have something similar, is that they both have a 3-hit that also build towards something big that they have. For Jumela is inflict the enemy bleeding, and then when the enemy is bleeding, her passive activated and her other skill gets stronger. Jumela potency of her nuke at max boost with the bleeding bonus activated is 540. And for Tressa ultimate, which is 70 for 70 power in this case, to deal more damage than Jamila, she needs to be having at least 7 arrow for the skill to deal more damage than Jamila. Maybe getting the bleeding to inflict on the enemy is hard sometimes, but inflicting an enemy with bleeding should be easier than spending turns to build up for 7 arrows. Hence why Tressa EX is mediocre at best. So in conclusion, if you want to pull for Tressa EX because she has a nice hat, then go for it. And if you want to pull for one of the best buffer in the game for a long time, then pull for Primrose EX instead.